everyone. I'm Yvonne Solander of the Somerset County Library System, and welcome to the fifth and final installment of the Virtual Book Lovers Tea. This week, I'm going to talk about some preview titles, and these are things that are going to be coming out anywhere from the next 2 weeks until February of 2021. I'm going to start with A Lady's Guide to Mischief and Mayhem by Amanda Collins. It's 1865 in England, and a serial killer stalks the night. Lady Catherine, widow and owner of a prominent newspaper, starts a column to advise ladies about protecting themselves. It's called A Lady's Guide to Mischief and Mayhem. Her reporting, well, let's just say it makes things go badly for the only detective inspector with any sense that's working the case. D.I. Andrew Eversham is livid, but he has a job to do, so when it appears that the killer has moved into the countryside, he follows. As you would expect, Catherine is relaxing at a friend's estate, and she is the one that discovers the dead body. This book is far steamier, and the mystery is more complex and unsavory than the cozy cover would suggest. It's a surprise, but in a good way. Readers who can't decide if they're in the mood for historical mystery or romance will choose well with this one. Red Hands by Christopher Golden. Haven't gotten enough pandemics in your life? How about one that's transmitted by touch? A car crashes into the middle of an Independence Day parade in a small town in New Hampshire, leaving death and destruction in its wake. When the driver gets out of the car, he leaves more death in his path because every single person he touches dies horrifically within moments. Until Maeve stops the destruction with a well-swung baseball bat. Or does she? Fans of Steve Barry, James Rollins, and Lincoln Child will enjoy this one. Conspiracies, interagency squabbling, too good to be heroes, and just as amazing villains, as well as an evil unleashed across the centuries. This book has it all. The Dark Library by Cyril Martinez. Every year, I include a book about libraries in the Book Lovers Tea, and this year I realized I didn't have one. So I set out to fix that, and I found this strange and strangely compelling book that's translated from the French about a great library and its evolution over time. This is a book for readers and library lovers who like things the way they were, the way they are, and might be a little concerned about the future. The book is narrated by librarians, readers, and even the books. What would a library be like if you had to promise by signing a contract that you're going to read a book while you're sitting there? How the One-Armed Sister Sweeps Her House by Sherry Jones. Baxter Beach is paradise to tourists, home to the locals, and a place to escape from for those trapped in a life that brings them no joy. It's an intersection of the haves and the have-nots. The wealthy tourists with their gated mansions on the beach, and the locals who serve them by braiding their hair, cleaning their houses, and selling them drugs. Barbados comes to life in the pages of this debut novel. It's an interweaving of stories detailing a short span of time told by many characters in the present, as well as characters filling in the backstory of the past. This is a bleak view of a community, but it ends with a glimmer, a sigh, and a small, sad smile. We Run the Tides by Vendela Vida. A group of friends from a private all-girls school in a changing 1980s San Francisco neighborhood is rocked to the core when one of them goes missing. The adults think Eulaby, best friends with the missing girl, must have some sort of insight, but the duo that was once so close had a falling out over a disagreement about what they saw on a walk to school one day. Eulaby thinks that falling out and the intention that that incident spawned is behind her former bestie's disappearance. This character study and examination of the dynamics in a close-knit group of girls that alters once one member is ostracized for a perceived slight is fascinating, and it rings true. Part coming-of-age story, part psychological reflection, and quite a bit of mystery, this book is going to appeal to a wide variety of readers. Take It Back by Kia Abdullah. A white teen with facial deformities named Jody accuses 4 Muslim boys of raping her after a party. The boy she holds most responsible is a handsome, well-liked teen, captain of the cricket team and liked by pretty much everyone. Jody's mom, her best friend, and her classmates don't believe her. Why would four handsome and likable boys rape her of all people looking the way that she does? The only one who believes her is Zara Khalil, a former high-powered attorney who now works as a sexual assault advocate. When the case becomes fuel for the fire of unrest in London, Zara is labeled as a traitor by the Muslim community for supporting a white teen instead of the four Muslim boys standing trial. This is courtroom drama at its finest. Zara is flawed, as are all the characters in this book, but in ways that make sense as the author develops all of these characters. I'll admit, I was initially disappointed in the ending, but then I realized it wasn't quite the ending yet, and then the gut punch happened. I didn't see it coming. Changed the whole book, really left me a little bit stunned. Here is The Beehive by Sarah Crossan. An attorney's lover has died. Anna set up his will years ago. It's how they met. And upon learning of his death, she goes into the documents and makes herself the executor. She tells his widow, Rebecca, that her husband did this to save her and his friends the trouble of the paperwork. Anna wants to get to know Rebecca, be in her lover's home and around his things. Anna and him had a fight hours before the accident. She needs closure, and she doesn't want to let him go. If you told me that I would completely devour a thriller told in free-form poetry, I wouldn't have believed you. But the spare writing is the absolute perfect way to tell a first-person thriller. You know the narrator's holding information back. They always do. But in this style, it's inevitable. Of course, through poetry, you can't convey all the details, just the broad strokes and occasional details. It's just such an amazing format choice. The Mystery of Mrs. Christie by Marie Benedict. Agatha Christie, the famous mystery novelist, is missing. Her car was found abandoned next to a pond on a frigid night in December 1926 with her fur coat left inside. It will be 11 days until she's found. Where was she? And why? I remember reading once that Agatha Christie actually did disappear for a short period of time, and the circumstances were mysterious. I was very intrigued, but then promptly forgot about that tidbit as I was going about my life. So when I found out about this book, I knew I had to read it. This is a view of a time, a study of a woman, and a very interesting way to handle a fraught situation. The War Widow by Tara Moss. Post-war Sydney, Australia is seeing young men returning from the war and re-entering the workforce. The women who ran the country for years during their absence are being sent back home. Billy Walker was a war correspondent in Europe, and she can't see covering the Easter parades and bake-offs for the newspaper, so she takes over her late father's business as a private inquiry agent, what we here in America would call a private investigator. Female clients feel more comfortable going to Ms. Walker, and her new client is not an exception. Thankfully, it is not another divorce case. This time, a concerned mother asked Billy to look for her missing young adult son. This case is a bit more all around than anyone could have ever expected. Car chases, Nazi war criminals, glamorous nightclubs, they're all here, and they add excitement and intrigue to the plot. Fans of private investigators and strong female characters will find a lot to like here. Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. What if time travel were real? Would you go back in time to have a very short chat with someone, knowing that nothing you say or do would affect the present in any way, and that you had to leave before your coffee got cold? This is a wonderful little heartfelt tale of a basement cafe in Japan that has one seat that allows the person seated there to travel in time, of course, for a very brief period. There are lots of rules, but I'll let you discover them in the pages of this wonderfully unique translation. I'll admit I was a little skeptical about this one, but I was in the mood for a feel-good book. And while there's heartache and sorrow in these pages, there's also joy and laughter and happiness as well. If you're looking for a unique pick-me-up, you can't go wrong with enjoying a cup of coffee in this cafe. Thank you for joining me throughout the month of October for the Virtual Book Lovers Tea. Visit our blog for more titles and book lists all year long. You now have 70 titles to choose from, so I am extremely hopeful that you'll find at least a handful you'll want to put on hold and read. Happy reading, everyone, and until next year.